I'm sitting in the conference room, watching Jasper Donald pace back and forth. Our CEO loves the sound of his own voice. He's going on about company values, about teamwork, about sacrifice. Then he stops and looks directly at me. Remember, folks, he says with that sharp smile, no one is indispensable. Not even you, Amira. His eyes lock onto mine for a second too long. A few people shift uncomfortably in their seats. I keep my face blank, nodding slightly like I agree. Inside, my stomach twists into a knot. This is the third time this month. He said it during meetings, always when I'm present. Always with that look. I glance down at my notebook, pretending to jot something important. But I'm really writing. He has no idea what's coming. It wasn't always like this. When I started at Donald Analytics 5 years ago, Jasper treated me like gold. I was fresh out of grad school with a degree in data science, eager to prove myself. He saw potential in me. Back then, the company was small, just 15 people squeezed into a cramped office downtown. Jasper would personally review my work, offering genuine praise. Amira, you're brilliant, he'd say, patting my shoulder. You're going places. I believed him. I worked late nights, skipped weekends, sacrificed time with friends and family. I built the algorithm that became our flagship product. It analyzed customer behavior patterns for retail companies, predicting buying trends with scary accuracy. Within 2 years, we had 50 employees and major clients. Everything changed when we hit the 100-employee mark. Jasper started acting different. He hired a bunch of executives from bigger firms, people with fancy titles and even fancier egos. Suddenly, my direct access to him vanished. He stopped acknowledging my contributions in meetings. When I present new features, he'd nod absently, then credit the team in his follow-up emails. The final straw came 3 months ago. I'd spent 6 weeks developing a predictive model that could save our clients millions. I presented it to Jasper privately, excited to share the breakthrough. He barely looked up from his phone. Great, Amira. Send it to Tom's team. They'll handle the rollout. Tom was the new VP of product, a guy who couldn't code to save his life. That's when I stumbled onto something interesting. Late one Thursday night, I was organizing my work files, backing everything up to my personal cloud storage like I always did. I'm paranoid about losing work, so I keep copies of everything I create. As I scrolled through folders, I realized something stunning. 90% of our core technology came from my code, my designs, my algorithms. I cross-referenced dates, commit logs, and project documentation. Every major breakthrough, every feature that made us competitive, I'd built it. Sure, other engineers helped with implementation and testing, but the foundational work? All mine. I sat back in my chair, heart pounding. I owned the intellectual backbone of a $70 million company, and Jasper had no clue how deep my fingerprints went. I started documenting everything. Timestamps, email threads, design documents with my name on them. I saved every piece of proof that showed my work was done on personal time, using my own equipment. Our employment contract had a clause about intellectual property, but it only covered work done during office hours with company resources. Most of my breakthroughs happened at home, late at night, on my personal laptop. I'd bring finished code to the office the next day. Technically, I owned it. My hands shook as I compiled the evidence. This wasn't revenge, it was protection. I'd heard stories about companies screwing over their key people. I wasn't going to be one of them. By the end of the week, I had a 50-page dossier backed up in 3 separate locations. Jasper called another all-hands meeting on a rainy Monday morning. We crammed into the largest conference room, coffee cups in hand, wondering what announcement he'd make this time. He stood at the front, looking pleased with himself. I want to talk about humility, he began. Success makes people arrogant. They start thinking they're irreplaceable. His eyes swept the room, landing on me again. But here's the truth. This company succeeds because of our collective effort. No single person is bigger than the mission. A few people clapped politely. I felt heat rise to my cheeks. My closest friend, Dev, caught my eye from across the room. He knew exactly what I was thinking. After the meeting, he pulled me aside. You're going to quit, aren't you? Dev whispered as we stood by the coffee machine. I glanced around to make sure no one was listening. Dev had been with the company almost as long as me. He knew how things worked, how much I'd contributed. I think so, I admitted quietly. I can't keep doing this. He treats me like I'm nobody. Dev nodded slowly, then surprised me. When you leave, I'm coming with you. This place is toxic now. Jasper only cares about his ego. My eyes widened. Dev was one of our best engineers. If we both left, the company would be in trouble. Let's talk later, I said. Somewhere private. That evening, we met at a cafe 3 blocks away. Dev and I sat in a corner booth, laptops open, voices low. I showed him my documentation, the proof of ownership over the core algorithms. His jaw dropped. Amira, you basically built this company, he said. Jasper has been coasting on your work for years. I nodded. I know. And now I'm going to take it with me. Dev leaned forward, eyes bright with excitement. What's your plan? I explained. I'd resign quietly, taking my intellectual property with me. Then I'd approach our competitors or start something new. Dev grinned. Count me in. But we need to be smart about this. Over the next 2 hours, we mapped out a strategy. First, I'd give notice. Then we'd wait to see how Jasper reacted. I typed my resignation letter that night, sitting at my kitchen table with a mug of tea going cold beside me. My hands trembled slightly as I crafted the words. Professional, polite, giving 2 weeks notice per my contract. I didn't mention why I was leaving or where I was going. Just a simple statement. I was pursuing other opportunities. I read it over 5 times, tweaking sentences, making sure there was nothing Jasper could twist against me. Finally, I hit save. Tomorrow morning, I'd hand it to him personally. No email, no sneaking out. I wanted to see his face. Part of me expected him to beg me to stay, to finally recognize my value. Another part knew better. Jasper's ego was too big to admit he needed anyone. I barely slept that night, rehearsing what I'd say. I walked into Jasper's office at 9 a.m. sharp, letter in hand. He was on his phone, barking orders at someone about a client meeting. He waved me in impatiently, still talking. I stood there waiting, feeling my resolve harden with each passing second. Finally, he hung up. What is it, Amira? I'm busy. I placed the letter on his desk. I'm resigning. 2 weeks notice, effective today. For a moment, he just stared at the paper. Then he picked it up, scanned it quickly, and tossed it aside. Fine, he said with a shrug. We'll manage. That was it. No questions, no concern, no attempt to understand why. Just cold dismissal. I felt a strange mix of hurt and relief. I'll train whoever you want to replace me, I offered. Jasper waved his hand dismissively. Don't bother. Tom's team can handle your projects. You'll spend your last 2 weeks documenting everything. His tone was sharp, almost annoyed that I'd interrupted his morning. I nodded stiffly. Understood. As I turned to leave, he called out, Remember what I always say, Amira. No one is indispensable. I paused at the door, hand on the frame, biting back the response forming in my mind. Instead, I just said quietly, You're right, Jasper. No one is. I walked back to my desk, feeling eyes on me. Word spread fast in offices. By lunchtime, everyone knew I was leaving. Some colleagues stopped by to wish me well. Others avoided me, probably worried about seeming disloyal. Dev caught my eye and gave me a subtle thumbs up. My last 2 weeks were strange. I wrote documentation for systems only I truly understood, deliberately leaving out key details. I didn't sabotage anything. I just didn't hand over the complete picture. Tom's team asked me questions, but I could tell they were overwhelmed. One junior developer, Amy, seemed genuinely worried. Amira, this is really complex, she said, staring at my code. Are you sure we'll be able to maintain it? I gave her an encouraging smile. You'll figure it out. The comments should help. But my comments were intentionally vague in crucial sections. I wasn't being malicious. I was protecting my work. On my final day, I packed my desk, said goodbye to the few people I genuinely liked, and walked out without looking back. Jasper didn't even bother saying goodbye. The first 3 days after leaving felt like freedom. I slept in, went for long walks, caught up on reading. Dev had given his notice the day after mine, and we spent hours at coffee shops planning our next move. We decided to approach Clear Vision Analytics, Donald's biggest competitor. I reached out to their CTO, a woman named Sandra Liu, through LinkedIn. My message was brief: former lead engineer at Donald Analytics. I have proprietary technology that might interest you. She responded within an hour, suggesting we meet for coffee on Friday. Dev and I prepared our pitch carefully, rehearsing the demonstration, anticipating questions. This was our shot to prove that Jasper was dead wrong. We were indispensable. He just didn't realize it yet. Sandra Liu was sharp, direct, and immediately interested. We met at a downtown cafe, and I showed her a demo of my algorithm running on a test dataset. Her eyes widened as she watched the predictions forming in real time, far more accurate than anything currently on the market. "This is incredible, Amira," she said, leaning closer to my laptop. "How much of Donald's tech is based on this?" I explained the full scope, how my algorithms powered their core products, how I developed everything independently. Sandra asked the key question: "Do you own this?" I pulled out my documentation, showing timestamps, personal equipment logs, everything. She nodded slowly, impressed. "Let me discuss this with our executive team. But I'll be honest, we'd love to have you. Both of you." Dev and I exchanged glances. This was happening. On day 7 after my resignation, my phone rang at 8 in the morning. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Amira Torres?" The voice was tight, stressed. "This is Jasper Donald." My heart jumped. I took a breath, keeping my voice calm. "Hi, Jasper. We need to talk," he said. "No pleasantries, no small talk. Several systems have crashed since you left. Tom's team can't figure out what's wrong." I felt a flicker of satisfaction, quickly suppressed. "That's unfortunate," I said carefully. "Have they checked the documentation I left?" There was a pause. "The documentation isn't enough. Amira, I need you to come back. We'll double your salary." "Double?" I almost laughed. A week ago I was invisible. Now I was suddenly worth twice as much. "I appreciate the offer, Jasper," I said slowly, "but I'm not interested in coming back." I heard him exhale sharply, frustration clear in his voice. "Amira, be reasonable. Name your price." I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. "It's not about money, Jasper. You spent months telling everyone I was replaceable. You treated me like I was nothing. I'm not coming back to that. Things will be different," he insisted. "I'll give you a leadership position, full creative control, whatever you want." His desperation was almost satisfying, but I kept my tone professional. "I've moved on. I suggest you invest in training Tom's team." Before he could respond, I added, "Oh, and Jasper? You were wrong. Some people are indispensable. You just figured it out too late." I hung up, hands shaking slightly from adrenaline. Renaline. Jasper called 3 more times that day. I didn't answer. He left voicemails, each one more desperate than the last. By the 3rd message, he was offering triple my old salary, equity, a VP title. It would have been flattering if it weren't so pathetic. Dev called me that evening, laughing. Jasper reached out to me too, offered me a massive raise to come back and help fix things. "What did you say?" I asked. I told him I'm joining ClearVision with you. We both knew the clock was ticking. Sandra had fast-tracked our contracts and we'd start in 2 weeks. Meanwhile, Donald Analytics was hemorrhaging clients. Their flagship product kept glitching, and competitors were circling like sharks. Jasper had built his empire on my work. Now he was watching it crumble. I met with a lawyer that week, just to be safe. She reviewed all my documentation, my employment contract, everything. After an hour, she looked up with a slight smile. "You're completely in the clear, Amira. This technology is legally yours. If Donald tries anything, they'll lose." That was the confirmation I needed. ClearVision's offer arrived via email. Senior Engineering Director, generous salary, stock options, and full support to develop my algorithms further. They even offered to cover any legal fees if Jasper tried to sue. I signed the contract that afternoon, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. This wasn't just a new job, it was validation. proof that my work had real value, that I wasn't crazy for believing in myself when Jasper made me feel worthless. 2 weeks into my new role at ClearVision, I saw the news. Donald Analytics had lost 3 major clients in 10 days. Their stock price dropped 15%. Industry blogs speculated about internal problems, technical failures, leadership issues. One article mentioned my departure in devs, noting that we'd been key personnel. Jasper sent me one final email. The subject line read, "Please." The message was short. "Amira, I made a mistake. I see that now. Come back and help me fix this. I'll give you anything you want. I'm begging you." I stared at the screen for a long moment. Part of me felt pity for him. Another part remembered every dismissive comment, every time he made me feel small. I typed a brief response. "I hope you find someone indispensable, Jasper. Good luck." At ClearVision, everything felt different. Sandra listened to my ideas, implemented my suggestions, and publicly credited my contributions. My algorithm became the backbone of their new product launch, and clients were thrilled. Within a month, we'd signed contracts worth $40 million. Dev thrived too, leading a team of engineers who actually respected his expertise. One afternoon, Sandra called me into her office. "Amira, I want to thank you. You've transformed our capabilities." She slid a folder across the desk. "This is a promotion package. VP of Innovation, significant equity increase, and a seat in executive meetings." I opened the folder, scanning the terms. It was more than I'd ever imagined. "You've earned it," Sandra said warmly. "You're indispensable to us." I smiled, feeling truly valued for the first time in years. 6 months after I left Donald Analytics, the company made headlines again, but not for good reasons. They'd hemorrhaged 60% of their clients. Jasper had been forced out by the board, replaced by an interim CEO trying to salvage what remained. The technology I'd built had become unstable without proper maintenance, and their attempts to rebuild it failed miserably. I ran into Tom, the former VP of Product, at an industry conference. He looked exhausted, defeated. "Amira," he said quietly, "I owe you an apology. I didn't realize how much you did. We completely fell apart without you." I appreciated his honesty. "I hope you land somewhere good, Tom." He nodded sadly. Jasper destroyed that company with his ego. We all see it now. As I walked away, I felt no satisfaction in their downfall, just relief that I'd gotten out when I did. ClearVision went public 18 months after I joined. My equity turned into life-changing money. Enough to pay off my student loans, buy a house, and invest in my future. More importantly, I'd built something I was genuinely proud of. Our new platform was revolutionizing retail analytics, helping small businesses compete with giants. I started a mentorship program at ClearVision, working with young engineers who felt undervalued or overlooked. I knew exactly how that felt. One mentee, a brilliant woman named Priya, reminded me of my younger self. "I'm scared my boss doesn't see my potential," she confessed during one session. I smiled. "Then document everything you do. Protect your work. And if they don't value you, find someone who will." She took my advice seriously, and 6 months later, she was leading her own team. I heard through industry channels that Jasper tried launching a new startup, but investors weren't interested. His reputation had tanked. People knew he'd driven away his best talent through arrogance and poor leadership. He'd become a cautionary tale in business schools. The CEO who lost everything because he couldn't recognize what made his company valuable. Meanwhile, Dev and I were thriving. We'd been promoted multiple times, our algorithms were industry leading, and we had respect from peers and leadership alike. One evening, over dinner, Dev raised his glass. "To being indispensable," he said with a grin. I clinked my glass against his. "To proving them wrong." We both learned the same lesson. Your value isn't determined by people who can't see it. It's determined by what you build and who you become. 3 years after leaving Donald Analytics, I received an unexpected LinkedIn message. It was from Jasper. My first instinct was to delete it, but curiosity won. The message was long, rambling, but essentially an apology. He admitted he'd been wrong, that his ego had destroyed something great, that he'd underestimated me completely. I've spent the last few years thinking about what I lost, he wrote. You were the heart of that company, and I was too blind to see it. I'm sorry, Amira. You deserve so much better. I read it twice, feeling a complex mix of emotions. Anger, vindication, but also a strange kind of closure. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I sat with it for a few days, letting the old wounds finish healing. Finally, I wrote back, "Thank you for the apology, Jasper. I've moved on. I hope you have too." Today, I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at Clear Vision, leading a team of 50 brilliant engineers. We're developing technology that's changing industries, helping businesses make smarter decisions, creating real impact. I speak at conferences, mentor dozens of people, and wake up every day excited about my work. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that conference room where Jasper said I was dispensable. I think about how small he made me feel, how close I came to believing him. But I didn't. I knew my worth, protected my work, and walked away when staying would have destroyed me. The best revenge wasn't watching Donald Analytics fail. It was building something better, becoming someone better, and proving that some people are absolutely indispensable. You just need to find the right people to see it. Jasper taught me that lesson the hard way, and I'll never forget it.